Poor network. Poor network. You can have 1,000 gig, but if you don't have good network, you cannot use it. Telecel, for instance, which I believe government has some shares in it, their network is quite bad. Very bad. I entered this building, I tried accessing the internet, and I was shocked that I'm in the building of the communications ministry, and there's no good network.
Well, that's why I just mentioned that we're making. Apart from the fact that we've offered both Telecel and, maybe because I use their official names, Ghana Telecommunication and Scancom. Scancom is MTN. Ghana Telecommunication is Telecel. We've offered them spectrum. Now, just so that they appreciate what it is, the ability to give you quality of service, the ability for you to be able to stream your data or your videos without them buffering, depends on the amount of bandwidth and spectrum, and the amount of bandwidth, and that also depends on the amount of spectrum that the telecom companies have. I know that both companies, including even AT, have been asking for spectrum for the last 4 years. They've not gotten it. But that's why I said it comes back to diagnosing what the problems are and fixing them. And that's why we're offering spectrum to MTN, we're offering spectrum to Telecel, and both companies, as a sign of their commitment to improving quality of service, have agreed to buy the spectrum that we're offering to them. Spectrum is also not very cheap, I must be honest about that. It's pretty expensive, but they are paying for the spectrum. Once we complete the deal by the first week of July, that will give them additional spectrum and bandwidth that they can then use to improve the quality of the network. Again, it is not a switch that gets turned on immediately they get the spectrum. They need to do investments in their network, they need to bring in new transmitters, they need to bring in new switches, they need to do configuration, and that's why we're giving them a quarter, 3 months. So if you listen again in my speech, I spoke about the fact that we're giving them spectrum by end of July, the first week of July, we expect that to be done, but we expect them to complete it by the deployment of that spectrum by end of Q3, which is September, July to September. And I've asked the regulator to immediately begin testing for the improvement in the quality of service in Q4, which is October to December. So yes, we will see, but again, in the specific case of Telecel, I again in my speech stated that I had given them approval, I had given the regulator approval this week for them to grant them a connecting entity license so that they can begin to offer improved services using the 2100 megahertz spectrum band that's held by NGIC. That again is policy direction we've given to allow them to be able to get access immediately to some spectrum that can improve their quality of service. But let me not mince words. 2 weeks ago, I had a meeting in this room with the CEOs and showed the quality of the network and the status of the infrastructure. By end of Q4, the NCA will bring us the quality of services. Now, why is MTN doing more? Because if you realize, when they were declared SMP about 4 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, in 2020, so 5 years ago, the ministry directed a 15% increase in their effective rates. So basically, we've reversed that. Because if we had done 10%, they would still effectively have been higher than where they were previously. And I'm minded by the fact that today, as a significant market player, whatever we do on that network affects almost 76% of all mobile network users. And so, as a sign of our commitment to understanding and dealing with the challenges Ghanaians are facing at this point in time, we've taken that decision. It means a lot more loss as well, don't forget, for the SMP, because then they are carrying a lot more burden. Because if you give more value at 190 gig, and now they will offer 250 gig for the same price.
Will it not come at a cost to them?
Well, that's why I have not done this unilaterally. And that's why for those who have always said, just announce. I'm glad today you have all the 3 CEOs here. And we will not have an instance where you see people either go to court to challenge the directive or go to the electronic tribunal. But we have worked together to get to this point. And that's the value of consultation. They say the patient dog, it's the fattest bone. And once again, I extend my gratitude to the CEOs for the work they have done over the last 4 months with me to get to this place. It's not the end of the journey. There's still a lot more we will do together for the Ghanaian people to make their businesses profitable, but to make data accessible and affordable for the Ghanaian people. So yes, it will come at cost to them, but they also know that they have a responsibility to the Ghanaian people.
Yes, a follow-up. I mean,
Them had Spectrum Holdings, which got consolidated. At this point in time, AT is the only company, MNO, that doesn't offer 4G. The ministry is currently in the process of restructuring AT. There's been a public announcement of conversations going on of a possible relationship with a private investor. And so it is important that you consummate that process before you begin the conversation about any spectrum addition, because then the new partners will want to do an assessment of what the asset holdings are today. Those asset holdings should not be fluid relative to spectrum. It should be definite. We finish the negotiations, and then we can always look at what we will do for AT. But don't forget that at this point in time, AT belongs to the government of Ghana 100%. And like I keep saying, all options are still on the table for us relative to AT and what we will do going forward. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, so my question is, now that you're talking about reduction, are they not going to increase?
Okay, so let's
So
be
that
clear.
we get it right.
All
So
the telcos,
right.
by regulatory practice, have to notify the regulator of any price increases. And at this juncture, let me just say that Telecel did some increases on their fixed broadband, not all their mobile data services, only fixed broadband, an increase of I think 20 cedis and 30 cedis in some cases. The regulator has been informed, and as the ministry, we have indicated to the regulator to go back to the MNO to have a conversation on the reversal of that increase, because in this day and age, our focus is on reduction. And so the operator and the regulator will have conversations about how to walk back even those 20 and 30 CD increases. And so that should give you assurances that the regulator will not. And again, in my speech, I referenced it when I said that I asked them to do a test of all effective rates, not just data but voice, to ensure that no telco will price above what is permitted or what has been approved by the regulator. When they do the test and it is found that any of the regulators, any of the operators is charging beyond the approved rate, there will be sanctions for it. And trust me, we will come down hard on that. But so far, in the 4 months I've engaged with the CEOs, I'm sure and confident that they will not act in a manner that is arbitrary and without recourse to the regulator. Any other questions? Well.